Hello and welcome back to the DoneDeal YouTube channel. I'm David OC and today we're reviewing one of the most important cars of our time and certainly one of the most important cars of 2020. It is the Volkswagen ID.3. Now prices for this are going to start at around €33,000. There is various different engines, or let's say electric motors available, as it is fully electric. Now if you would like to search ID.3s for sale currently on DoneDeal from our trusted dealer network, hit the link up here. But for now, let's check out the ID.3 in a little more depth. So the ID.3 suggests it's the third generation of Volkswagen. The first being the Volkswagen Beetle, the second being the much loved Volkswagen Golf, and then this is the third. It's going to be the platform that many of the Volkswagen Group cars are going to be based on. And let's take a look at this particular one, the shape, the styling, and the first thing I notice is on the front, it actually looks a lot like the Up exclamation mark. Now you will notice it's got a kind of smiley, chirpy look to it as opposed to the new Golf, which is a little bit more aggressive on the front and has a bit of a frown. On the side you'll notice the big wheels and they're all in each corner, and we'll talk more about that as we come to drive it. And then at the rear it looks really nice and really subtle. In the past, this is where your combustion engine would have been featured. Now in the new ID.3 obviously it is electric, so there is just a few little things like your water washer fluid, your coolant and your battery, and a few other things like your fuse box. However, the ID.3 is going to come with three different engines. Now there will be a 45 kilowatt hour battery, a 58, which is this, and a 77. Now the 58, your range is claimed at about 419 kilometers. Now I don't have it long enough to take it a long journey and figure out what exactly it is. However, I would expect the high 300s to be quite realistic. In terms of power, it's got 204 brake horsepower, which is a lot of power, and 310 Newton meters of torque. So the inside of the ID.3, so you kind of have to take a bit of a leap up into it, as due to the batteries, the floor is a little bit raised compared to something like a Golf. Now overall, first impressions as you sit into this are it's very nice, it's very minimalistic, it's simplistic, but it's also futuristic, and I don't think I could fit any more istic words in there. But it is a very nice place to be. In terms of storage, there's absolutely loads. So let's start with, there's a normal size glove box. There's a little pouch up here that you can maybe keep your wallet, two big drink holders, a place here to put your phone. However, sadly, it's not a wireless charging port, which I thought it was initially. Now you also have two USB-C charging points here, more storage down there, storage in the door bins. And yeah, there's just plenty of places to put things. In terms of driving position, the steering wheel, like many cars, is fully adjustable. Interestingly enough, the display actually moves with it. Seats, really, really comfortable. And overall, it's a very bright, kind of happy place to be. You've got that big windscreen in front of you that kind of reminds me of the Volkswagen Beetle. Now, the infotainment system, it is very similar to the rest of the Volkswagen Group. So things like the Seat Leon or the Volkswagen Golf, it's pretty similar, and in fact, nears makes no difference to those. So if you want to see a bit more of an in-depth look through it, you can hit the link up here. However, one large thing to note is there's no Apple CarPlay and Android Auto ready as of yet. Now it will come in probably January 2020, and you'll have to bring the car back to get the update. After that, the rest of the updates will be done through your mobile telephone device, which is very futuristic, and it's kind of following Tesla's way, or even just a normal app. You just hit the update and overnight you've got a brand new infotainment system or whatever it might be at the time. You also have this little digital display dash over here. It doesn't show you too much other than your range, the mileage in the car, and also your adaptive cruise control. In the rear, well, first of all, the doors open very, very wide, which is nice to get that baby seat in, and the ISOFIX points are extremely accessible. So I really, really do like that. It's a very well family orientated car, and when those babies grow up a little bit more, they'll be happy too, as there's plenty of headspace, a huge amount of knee space, and actually your feet can tuck in front of the seat in front of you. You've also got storage here, storage here. You've got 2 USB-C points to charge those smartphones and a fold down armrest where you can have a little drink. There's also a little ski pouch. Now, we're unlikely to have skis in Ireland, but where this could come in handy is, I don't know, if you're building a decking and you need some long timbers through the car, you can put it in and still carry 4 adults. As we make our way back to the boot, the good news continues. So it has quite a large boot, 385 litres, which is 5 more litres of milk than a Volkswagen Golf. So well done to the ID.3. And it is quite spacious. There's a big load lip. Now that doesn't really matter. However, it is worth noting, you've got your fast charger and your slow charger, which, like a lot of electric cars, they're just kind of designed to float in the boot, which is kind of a little bit, let's say, I don't want to say frustrating, but it's just a bit of an inconvenience. Other kind of creature comforts, you have some shopping hooks. You've got a 12 volt socket, which is actually the only 12 volt socket in the whole car. The seats fold flat, you've got your parcel shelf, and that's basically all there is to it. It's just a nice, spacious, convenient, practical, all the buzzwords boot. Now, the all-important part of any car review is driving it. So, the first thing you notice as you get into it is you don't actually need to turn it on. It turns itself on. There is an on and off switch here should you need it. However, you don't actually. The second thing is that's how you put it into drive. Gone are the days of the gear knob being down here. Now, as you pull off, it feels very similar to any car, not just an electric car. It's pretty smooth. It's very comfortable. The big open space in front of you is really nice. In fact, visibility as a whole is very good, particularly with this A-pillar window right here. And it drives very, very nicely. Around town, you honestly would just think that you're in a pretty normal car. It does a little bit of regenerative braking. However, if you put it into B mode, which is full regenerative braking mode, you will notice a little bit more braking. And to kind of expand on that, what is regenerative braking? What it basically does is, as you take your foot off the accelerator, it uses the energy and the power of the car slowing down to regenerate more power to increase your range. So other than if you hate it, I would always leave that on because it makes no difference in normal driving. And after 4 or 5 minutes of driving an electric car, you completely get used to it. The ID.3 is equipped with quite a lot of tech. So it has all your usual things like emergency braking, but it also comes with lane assist, it comes with traffic sign recognition, has adaptive cruise control. So from an everyday driving point of view, it is just like any other car in its price range, and it's fantastic. I really can't fault it. People might have stigmas against electric cars, but really this is the future, and as you drive this, it's just absolutely brilliant. Now, the big question is when you select your mode here and you put it into sport, this thing is phenomenal. It's very, very quick. As we said before, it's 204 brake horsepower, 310 newton meters of instant torque, and it handles really well. It's got big 19-inch alloys. In fact, there's a small offset, so the front is 8.5, the rear is 8, which gives it a little bit more control, and it handles really, really good. It is fast. It's very, very quick. It's instant power, just like electric cars should be, and it's touching on the hot hatch. But the way it goes around a corner is fantastic, and for a very good reason. You see, the ID.3 has each of its wheels in the very furthest corner as possible. So you'll see the rear wheel here is right at the back. The front wheel is right at the front. And this is for a number of reasons. So number one is it actually leaves space for the batteries to sit along the floor for a low center of gravity. Number two is for rear passenger space. And number three is so that it handles better. And it kind of reminds me of the Mini in the early days, and why it did so well on the Monte Carlo Rally was because all the wheels were in each of its corners. There is another reason too. And the second reason is because the ID.3 is rear wheel drive, and that means you're being pushed from the back. All the front wheels need to do is focus on the direction of the car. All the power comes from the rear, the center of gravity is low, And it honestly drives so well. I've obviously got different beeping going on here because I'm going across the line, but the way this thing drives, it's a proper hot hatch. It really, really is, but in a very different way to a normal hot hatch, because generally hot hatches are front wheel drive or four wheel drive, but a rear wheel drive hot hatch has not been around since the BMWs back in, I suppose, the late 2000s, when we had the M135i and then the M140i, and it's fantastic. As with any car we review here on the DoneDeal channel, we like to talk about the positives and the negatives. So let's talk about three of our least favourite things about the ID.3. And number one, and I briefly mentioned this as we went through the boot space, is that the wires are just destined to travel around the boot with no set area. Now, what I didn't mention is there is a small bit of storage here. However, I spent some time here this morning and I cannot find a way to get them both in there nice and smoothly without potentially damaging them. Number two is that this morning when I got into the car, it was a little bit chilly outside and I decided, oh, I'll turn on the heating. Now, for some reason, the entire touch system when it came to the climate control wouldn't work at all. And interestingly enough, it's the same system more or less that was in the Seat Leon, and I had a long drive in the Seat Leon where this completely froze. Now luckily in the ID.3, when I turned it off and on again, it began to work. However, in the Seat Leon, I had to wait 12 hours for the whole system to kind of reboot and work its way into being normal again. And these kind of small glitches are quite frustrating, particularly in a car that's so tech heavy. I feel like it could annoy some of its potential owners. And the most frustrating thing about the ID.3, and this is common across all of the new Volkswagen range, is the adaptive cruise control has traffic sign recognition. And the first time I ever saw this or experienced this, it was a frightening experience. You're driving along on the motorway, it's 120, and then the speed limit drops to, let's say, 100, and the car just slams on the brake and you're thinking, what's going on, what's going on? And it's because the car knows ahead of you that you're actually going into a slower speed limit zone, and that is great for the penalty points, but not great for the heart. Picking our favourite things about the ID.3 was a challenge in itself. It has so much to offer, so I've decided to bundle some together. So number one on our favourite things about the ID.3 is the standard equipment that it comes with. It has things like heated seats, lane assist, emergency braking, adaptive cruise control, the list goes on, and that's all standard. Number two, and it is a little bit gimmicky, but I like it, and it is the play and pause button on the pedals. And number three is these little shortcuts down here. Now, they may not seem all that important. However, in something like a Seat Leon, it didn't have them as easily accessible. And the biggest one for me is when you're driving along on a country road and it's very, very chill and very slow, you catch up with a tractor and you need to overtake. Now, to be fair, there is a huge amount of responsiveness. However, having that little shortcut to change into sport, quickly overtake, and then back into eco mode is very, very nice, and it's very practical in the real world. Well, there you have it. That is DoneDeal's review of the Volkswagen ID.3. It's a revolutionary car and is set to change the electric car market for the better. If you enjoyed the review, please give us a thumbs up, give us a comment, and of course subscribe. And if you'd like to search for electric cars for sale in Ireland from trusted dealers, hit the link up above. But for now, that is it for today. We'll see you in the near future with our next video. Until then, thanks for watching.